Well, today I'm going to do what I have oft been putting off as of late. I'm going to sort some things. What things, you might ask? Paperbacks. I've been putting it off because, well, I have a heck of a lot of them. So, let's push gently up that out of the way. And let me move. So, I'm going to make room for the new, and I'm going to get rid of some of the old. Some of it is just going to go bye-bye. Some will, I don't know. We'll figure it all out later. But let's just get started because there is quite a bit to go through. There you go. James Bond, For Your Eyes Only. I think I may keep that one up here, as well as this Psychedelic Beauty, Night in Funland, which does look like quite a bit of fun. I think I'm going to keep this one as well, just so I can go back and read it. The Hawk in the Rain. Octavio Paz, The Bow and the Lyre. The Complete Book of Surfing. The Universe. I don't know how that got there, but okay. Here is The Exception. It's a story of Ashland Oil and Refining Company, which is a local company. Never seen a book by them before, or about them, I should say. And lo and behold, that one found its way into my hands. Slam! Wow! The Influence of S.L.A. Marshall on the United States Army. And thus far, those are all keepers. What's going to happen is I'm going to have a special place for paperbacks, the ones that are sticking around, which a lot of these may, because these are all early editions that I collected because I like to read, and I read a lot of these and am still reading some of these. So let me try a little something here. I'm going to turn this. It's going to fall. I apologize for that. And these are all going to be for another time and another place. And because there is some very great stuff there, including a John Steinbeck, The Winter of Our Discontent, Viking. (1961). And It is in first edition. True Grit, and many, many, many more. Disraeli. And some will get displaced today, like maybe not. Maybe not. Okay, these all go together, it looks like, historically speaking. So, yeah, these will all stay. They will just also go elsewhere. Say it with me, folks. Elsewhere. Okay, now I have a piece of hard candy in my mouth. I mowed the grass yesterday, and my nose has been just going crazy today because it wasn't like mowing grass. It was like mowing a dust bowl, because here in Ohio, it's that time of year when everything's dried out. All right, much better. Now, we can really dig in. I saw these yesterday. Here's the Mafia Kingfish. The CIA and the Cult of Intelligence. There's a hard-boiled detective, which I'm going to probably give a try. I like these hard-boiled crime. Bloodletters and bad men. A who's who of vile men and women, wanted for every crime in the book, packed with photographs and illustrations. Here is Slammer. You may be shocked, you may be moved, but you'll never forget Slammer. And that's one from a deal from a long time ago. Here's The Riot. So far, Shaft. Everything is going to stay. There's a lot of great literature here. Here's The Captive City. Prince Jack. Jack the Ripper. Panjamon, I Was a Headhunter. The true adventures of a Frenchman who shared the savage life and secret rites of a Stone Age Borneo tribe. Sounds great. And Marlansky. Have a pretty nice La Cosa Nostra collection going here. I think I'm going to have to... 40 Years of Murder. One of the most absorbing volumes of murder I've ever read. Boom! Nicholas Pileggi, Wise Guy, Life in a Mafia Family, the 13-week New York Times bestseller. A fascinating book, says Mario Puzo. The best book ever written on organized crime, says Cosmopolitan. At the age of 12, my ambition was to become a gangster, to be a wise guy. Being a wise guy was better than being president of the United States. To be a wise guy was to own the world, Henry Hill. Wise Guy is Nicholas Pileggi's remarkable bestseller, the most intimate account ever printed of life inside the deadly high-stakes world of what some people call the mafia. Wise Guy is Henry Hill's story, in fascinating, brutal detail, the never-before-revealed day-to-day life of a working mobster. His violence, his wild spending sprees, his wife, his mistresses, his code of honor. Henry Hill knows where a lot of bodies are buried. and he turned federal witness to save his own life. The mob is still hunting him for what he reveals in Wise Guy. Hundreds of crimes, including arson, extortion, hijacking, and the $6 million Lufthansa heist, the biggest successful cash robbery in U.S. history, which led to 10 murders, a first-hand account of the secret world of the mob. Wise Guy is more extraordinary, more compelling than any novel. Wise Guy goes non-stop, absolutely engrossing, says Vincent Patrick at the New York Times book review. So, yeah, pretty groovy. And where would we be without the true story of Bonnie and Clyde? And the Lucky Luciano story. And G.I. Joe, Operation Mindbender by R.L. Stine, whose name might sound familiar to you. He wrote Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. If you're from my generation, you know what book that is. Carter Brown's Angel. Stop Time. It kind of reminds me of A Clockwork Orange, that cover. For some reason, the movie anyway. And we have The Ski Bum. Cool, bitter, hip, the sensational novel of the new lost generation. And we have The Troublemaker by Robert McKay. He's the most hostile boy I ever saw in my life. He's the grooviest hostile boy I ever saw. He's pretty serious, I guess. He was in reformatory or maybe prison. We know one thing for sure. He rescued that red bird from the snow. He might be a little nutty, but he also might be some kind of genius. I don't know if he's a super rock star baby, but he's a super kind of something, and you better believe that, Jack. And we have The Quarterback. He wouldn't play by the rules on the field or off. Jimmy Jazzy came up the hard way through the semi-pro jungle. Jazzy'd been on top 5 years now, but he was the bad boy of the game, and everyone was waiting for him to make the wrong move. The press, his coach, the owner, even his wife, tired of sharing him with women in every city in the league. The clock was running out for Jimmy Jazzy. All he had left were the remnants of his incredible skills and his snarling pride in being the man they called the quarterback. I know this is my favorite, one of my favorites, Calvin and Hobbes, the 10th anniversary book. I believe this is the first Calvin and Hobbes that I bought way back when. Is this one where he shaves his head at the end? Because I gotta tell you, that cartoon was just hysterical to me. I laughed till I cried. Literally. I could not stop laughing. My mom and dad thought I was nuts. Maybe not. Here's a Get Fuzzy. The dog is not a toy. I remember that being kind of funny back in the day. Candide Voltaire. Paperback, the Story Bible. Ooh, that's nice. That's going to stay out. That's going to go somewhere special. Back in the day, 101 Things Everyone Used to Know How to Do, which is a very interesting book. I'm going to keep that one out as well. And there is a New World Thesaurus, which I will keep out as well. And we have Pearl Buck, the Story Bible, Volume 2, New Testament. I just love Pearl Buck. the Good Earth is my favorite book of all time. I read it yearly. Probably run across a copy or two up here, I imagine. My personal reading copy is a hardbound volume I acquired a few years ago. It's Travels with Charlie, John Steinbeck. The Genetic Code by Isaac Asimov. This is a nice early edition, too, of that. So, I'm trying to get comfortable. It's so hard. My ankles, they hurt. Here's The Universe by Isaac Asimov. Here's Asimov's Mysteries. Here is The Martian Chronicles by Ray Bradbury, the masterwork of fantasy by the world's greatest living science fiction writer. Here's a classic for you. Pierre Boulez, The Planet of the Apes. Great movie. I know I was very irritated when I heard that they were redoing it years ago and that Tim Burton would be at the helm. I was picturing it was going to be some Nightmare Before Christmas monstrosity or something, and couldn't be further from the truth. What a fantastic movie. Did a great job. And it had Mark Wahlberg in it, and you really can't go bad with Mark Wahlberg, in my opinion. How to Build a Better Vocabulary. Longfellow's Complete Poetical Works, the Cambridge edition. Henry Wadsworth Longfellow is a relative, a great something, uncle, I'm not sure. My grandmother, my dad's mother, was a Wadsworth, so that's how we're attached. This is staying up here. Matter of fact, I have, right within reach, actually, a very nice old copy that I picked up at another sale of Evangeline. And it's fallen apart, but you know what? It's mine. So let me just take that right now, and I'm just going to put it right up there because they're going to stay together. All right, well, I guess we're going to get into some hardback too, but that's okay. It can't be avoided. The Cruel Shoes by Steve Martin. I don't know if you've ever heard The Cruel Shoes. It's a fantastic tale. And it's got the king of comedy himself. And I was really happy when I found this. Steve Martin I always thought he was hysterical. Well, The Cruel Shoes, it just might be one of those stories that goes down in history as one of the best. Anna knew she had to have some new shoes today, and Carlo had helped her try on every pair in the store. Carlo spoke wearily. Well, that's every pair of shoes in the place. Oh, you must have one more pair. No, not one more pair. Well, we have the Cruel Shoes. But no one would want, Anna interrupted. Oh, yes, let me see the Cruel Shoes. Carlo looked incredulous. No, Anna, you don't understand. You see, the Cruel Shoes are, get them. I know, I'm not doing it any justice, but hey, it's a good story. Carlo disappeared into the back room for a moment and then returned with an ordinary shoebox. He opened the lid and removed a hideous pair of black and white pumps. But these were not an ordinary pair of black and white pumps. Both were left feet. One had a right-angle turn with separate compartments that pointed the toes in impossible directions. The other shoe was 6 inches long and was curved inward like a rocking chair with a vise and razor blades to hold the foot in place. Carlo spoke hesitantly. Now you see why they're not fit for humans. Put them on me. But put them on me. Carlo knew all arguments were useless. He knelt down before her and forced the feet into the shoes. The screams were incredible. Anna crawled over to the mirror and held her bloody feet up where she could see. I like them. She paid Carlo and crawled out of the store and into the street. Later that day, Carlo was overheard saying to a new customer, "Well, that's every shoe in the place. Unless, of course, you'd like to try the cruel shoes." The cruel shoes. Love it. I'm not exactly sure what this is. Nosatsu Junkie. You know, I'll probably give this to my son because he loves anime and all that anime stuff. He's really into it. So we'll pull that out for Allie. And we have The Adventures of Tom Sawyer by Mark Twain. One of my other very most favorite books. This is not an illustrated edition. I'm just curious who the publisher is. Oh, wow. It's a nice Harper. And it has the original illustration in the front end paper. Huh. Or not end paper, but the front. Oh, I forget the name. Oh! All right. Let's move on because we've got a lot of ground to cover yet. Here's a book on magic by William Goldman. I believe that is a horror story, if I'm not mistaken. Now I have to know. Magic is a dazzling psychological thriller about a man obsessed by magic and the dark forces at work to destroy him. A spectacular tour de force by the author of Marathon Man, Boys and Girls Together, and Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. Magic is William Goldman's most chilling and electrifying novel to date. Well, all right. It is. We have Hermann Hesse, Gertrude. I love Hermann Hesse. I turned my dad onto him a couple years ago. And here's the Mensa Genius quiz book. And my father, I really liked Hesse too. Here's Dickens Copperfield. I'm going to keep this one with the paperbacks. Excuse me. Dark Imaginings. A collection of fantasy, Gothic fantasy. Let me get that right. Dark Imaginings. A collection of Gothic fantasy. And I really couldn't tell you much about this book other than I'm really excited to read it. Hope it's as good as the cover. Gonna keep that over here. And we're gonna move on to Alexander Pushkin, the Queen of Spades. Let's keep that with that one. And Tolstoy, The Death of Ivan Ilyich and Other Stories. And I Have a Dream, The Quotations of Martin Luther King Jr., which is a very nice copy too. Really, really high end. And a beautiful book. Beautiful book. I want to keep that over here. That's going to go elsewhere as well. And what do we have next? We have China Sky by Pearl Buck. I love the Chinese people. They are a very hardy people. I mean, they've lived for a very long time over there. And they're an honorable people. And I read The Good Earth in 6th grade. And then finding out that China is a communist country, it made me very sad. Here is Rogues Hollow, History and Legends. So if you know Rogues Hollow here in Ohio, you'll know what I'm talking about. This is the history and legend of Rogues Hollow by Russell W. Fry. It's a Boonville Herald Press, New York. I believe it's the first edition. Copyright. I think this says 1958, if my eyes aren't failing me. There's the dedication. Houses and buildings marked with numbers on the map printed on the opposite page. And here is the map for all of you that would like to see the Rogues Hollow map. You could probably freeze it and photograph it if you really wanted to and wanted to know where it was here. And go try and find it. I'm not sure where it is. There's a ghost town. There's the original Rogues Hollow. Okay, so there you go. And then here's the contents of the book. There's quite a bit of interesting stuff here. It's a very haunted area, is according to this book. And this book is not a new book either. There is a lot of stuff that goes way, way back. Here you go again. I don't know if that'll help, but I'm not turning it right now because I'll drop it. Tough spot with 7 saloons. Seven saloons for the 7th son of the 7th son. Okay, let's kind of keep those right there, I suppose. And we're moving on up, moving on up. Pearl S. Buck, Pavilion of Women. That's a beautiful cover. Again, Buck wrote about China, a lot about China and the Chinese people. Here is a first edition, I believe, paperback of The Silence of the Lambs. This is another one that I read with some regularity just because Thomas Harris is just amazing. Here's my copy of H. Rider Haggard's King Solomon's Mines. This is another one I highly, highly recommend to all of my friends. Fantastic book. And it's not too long, you know. This one I recommend to everyone. This is The Godfather by Mario Puzo. And I don't believe this is a first edition, although it could be. This is a Fawcett Crest book. I know I had a first edition at one time, and this could be it, but this one's all beat to hell. It's a 13th printing. So it could be a first edition. No, it's not. It's not. It's a first Fawcett Crest. Okay, so this is a first edition. First Fawcett Crest printing, March 1970. So that's why I remember it as being a first edition. I was dating a girl named Jamie in high school. I was absolutely enamored with her, and I was stuck waiting for her to come back from Washington, D.C., back home to Ohio, and she gave me the wrong time to be there. And I sat, and I was so bored. After 15 minutes, I picked this book up, and I started reading, and I was at I was further than that. I was over 200 pages in when she got home. But I could not put it down. I started reading it, and I kept starting the car up so my lights wouldn't die, or my battery wouldn't die, because I had the light on inside. And then there's the second book, The Sicilian, which is actually a completely separate story. It is a wonderful book, but it is not what you're thinking. It does have Michael Corleone in it, but he is only in spastic, short segments interspersed between the chapters of the main story of The Sicilian, which is a Italian tragedy, and can't recommend it enough. I'm just not even going to say anything about it to ruin it. The Sicilian is a very, very good book. It's not The Godfather, but it is a very good book, nevertheless. The Godfather actually had The Godfather Parts 1 and 2 in it. So this is actually The Godfather 1 and 2. They made 2 movies out of one book because it was just so much. There was so much there. And then there were parts, I think, if I'm not mistaken, that they used from this. Here we go again. Another copy of Candide. Just another later edition. This is my copy, an early edition of Brave New World. Huxley. He's one of my favorites. He's going to stay right there. This is Robert Heinlein's The Puppet Masters, which this will also stay here. I hope my friend Vic, I hope you still have the Heinlein collection I gave you for Christmas years ago, brother. Because, man, what a great writer. And then my copy of The Outsiders, which this was lost for a number of years, and I think I had to pay for it because it was a library book. And I found it. It ended up in my basement somewhere. I guess I was reading downstairs in the cellar, which I would do sometimes because it was cold down there, cool in the summer before we had central air. And Narcissus and Goldmund by Hermann Hesse. Great, great, great book. It's a story about a wild man and a poet, and He's one side of the coin, and the other side of the coin is his friend who joined the monastery and is good. And what a great, 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 great book. Narcissus and Goldmund. Love it. Another, Robert Heinlein, The Door into Summer, which I absolutely love. It's my favorite. This is the copy that I read originally, and it's the copy I kept. This is The Genius and the Goddess by Aldous Huxley. Another great, great, great book. Great book. Rates right up there with Herman Hesse. This is The Terminal Man by Michael Crichton. Another great, great, great book. Okay? 40 Minuscule Electrodes in the Brain of Harry Benson. An absolutely riveting novel about a human time bomb. And I'm going to tell you what, man. This is a great book. Michael Crichton, if you haven't read him, take the time and do so. He was years ahead of his time. Years ahead of his time. The Rules of Prey, John Sanford. The best thriller next to The Silence of the Lambs that I've ever read. The Rules of Prey. It's a serial killer book. If you're into that kind of thing, you'll love it. It made me look under the bed. Here is The Golden Apples of the Sun by Ray Bradbury, an early edition. The Island, Aldous Huxley. Another fantastic book. This is my personal copy. You can tell it's been moved around a lot. This has traveled with me to Cleveland. The back cover got ripped off in Cleveland when I lived up there because I was moving in haste. And yeah, that's it. Ape in Essence, Huxley, again. Another interesting book. The Couple. Brave New World by Aldous Huxley, another very early edition paperback. Aldous Huxley's mighty novel of a soulless, streamlined Eden is the 20th century's most brilliant, profound, and terrifying evocation of the future our civilization may be creating. Brave New World is Huxley's prophetic vision of natural man in an unnatural world where freedom lies dead and all our concepts of morality are forgotten. An open-eyed, shocking look at a frighteningly possible tomorrow. You want to know where we're headed right now, folks, as a country? Here you go. We thought it was science fiction. They thought it was a blueprint. The Jungle by Upton Sinclair. Another fantastic book. Okay? In this powerful book, we enter the world of Jurgis Rudkus, a young Lithuanian immigrant who arrives in America fired with dreams of wealth, freedom, and opportunity, and we discover with him the astonishing truth about Packing Town, the busy, flourishing, filthy Chicago stockyards, where New World visions perish in a jungle of human suffering. Upton Sinclair, master of the muckraking novel, here explores the working man's lot at the turn of the century, the backbreaking labor, the injustices of wage slavery, the bewildering chaos of urban life. High praise. High praise. Great book. This is Norman Mailer, The Naked and the Dead. And my mom and dad's generation know what this is. The most blistering sexual memoir of the decade. Mailer takes on Millett, Greer, Friedman, Steinem, women's liberation, and the politics of sex. His best book. I would disagree. I think The Deer Park was better, but that's just because I read both of them. And, well, this is more of a mighty novel, you know, and it is. But The Deer Park was more of a page-turner. That's just me. Probuck, again, The Exile. And in one of my another one of my, we're going to need to do another episode to cover the rest of these paperbacks. So let's stop right here because this Stephen King Different Seasons was a huge book for me personally. And we'll start there, okay?